Dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, it's my sincere pleasure to welcome you from all over the world to the 6th International Conference on Big Data for Official Statistics. The conference is organized by Statistics Korea, the United Nations Economic and Social Commission for Asia and the Pacific, the United Nations Statistics Division, and the United Nations Global Working Group on Big Data for Official Statistics. My name is Ronald Jensen, and I work as Assistant Director for the UN Statistics Division in New York, where I lead the work on data innovation and capacity development. I'm honored to be your Master of Ceremony for this opening segment of the conference. Before introducing our distinguished speakers, I would like to take the opportunity to first thank our host, Statistics Korea, for their great efforts and support to make this conference happen in a time where we are obliged to connect virtually instead of meeting in person. In the preparation of the program and in finding all the technical solutions, our colleagues from Statistics Korea have done an excellent job to make this event into a very successful 6th International Conference on Big Data for Official Statistics. After conferences in China in 2014, in the United Arab Emirates in 2015, in Ireland in 2016, in Colombia in 2017, and in Rwanda in 2019, this 6th conference is officially taking place in the Republic of Korea. This is the first of our conferences which is taking place as a virtual conference. This is also the first conference which is completely live streamed and can therefore be followed by everyone around the world who is interested in the topic of data innovation and official statistics for evidence-based policymaking. The 6th conference on Big Data for Official Statistics takes place over 3 days. Each day has a morning session from 8:30 a.m. till 11:30 a.m. time in the Republic of Korea, and an afternoon session from 3:30 p.m. till 6:30 p.m. again, Korean time. The 3 themes of the conference are the COVID response by the statistical community, big data and sustainable development goals, and global data collaboration and global training program. Ladies and gentlemen, for the ceremonial opening of the conference, we are very honored to have the following distinguished speakers. Commissioner Kang of Statistics Korea, Her Excellency Executive Secretary Ms. Armida Salcia Alishabana of the United Nations Economic and Social Commission for Asia and the Pacific, His Excellency Minister Ki-Yong Chao, Minister of Science and ICT of the Republic of Korea, the Statistician General Mr. Rizenga Maluleke of South Africa, and Mr. Stefan Schweinfest, Director of the United Nations Statistics Division. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm very pleased to introduce as the first speaker of the conference, Commissioner Shin-Wook Kang. Commissioner Kang is the 17th Commissioner of Statistics Korea. As Commissioner, he is fully committed to improving survey methodology and developing new statistical indicators which reflect new policy demands. He is leading Statistics Korea with a vision to make the organization a national data hub in the face of the 4th Industrial Revolution. Prior to being appointed as the Commissioner of Statistics Korea, Mr. Kang served as the Director of Department of Income Security Policy and head of the Center for Research on Basic Social Protection at the Korea Institute for Health and Social Affairs. He published numerous reports and papers. Mr. Kang, the floor is yours. Please start the video.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I'm Shin-Wook Kang, Commissioner of Statistics Korea. Mr. Stefan Schweinfest, Director of the UN Statistics Division, Ms. Amida Alishabana, Executive Secretary of the UNESCOP, our distinguished guests from the national statistical offices and relevant institutions from across the world. First of all, let me extend my heartfelt gratitude to our dear colleagues for your attendance at the 6th Big Data Conference. I know that it could be very quite early in the morning or late in the evening, depending on where you are in the world. I would like to thank you even more for honoring this conference with your presence. Unfortunately, this COVID-19 outbreak has been prolonged, so I am deeply regretful that we can only meet in this virtual conference. As we have experienced over the past few months, COVID-19 has truly brought huge change in our daily lives and working environments, and statistics is no exception in this crisis. For instance, in sweeping and fast-paced changes, such as lockdown and social distancing, face-to-face surveys no longer serve their own purpose as a commonly used survey method. Meanwhile, we are witnessing a rapid surge in the demand for various statistics required to overcome the crisis and to decide policy priorities, both in the public and private sectors, even though this differs from country to country. This urges the NSOs across the world to take seriously more than ever the fully preemptive application of big data, such as web scraping and mobile data, to more swiftly identify changes in employment and economic conditions. In the face of the ongoing challenges, I myself also realize yet again that using data from new sources and innovative technology is no longer an option, but a must. As the chief statistician of the Republic of Korea, I have also come to see the urgent need to establish statistical production infrastructure for the future. At this critical situation, it is very meaningful to open the conference where we can discuss challenges and the way of cooperation facing the international statistical community with experts in the relevant fields. The 6th Big Data Conference has been arranged as a 3-day event. It is my dear hope that each session would invite active engagement of the participants and stimulate in-depth discussion so that we can share our knowledge and experience to turn the COVID-19 crisis into momentum for the advancement of statistics. Also, I would like to propose that solidarity and cooperation be placed high on the agenda of the international statistical community. And I promise that Statistics Korea will do our best to contribute to statistical development in preparation for the post-COVID-19 era. Lastly, my sincere thanks goes to everyone who has put their efforts into making this event possible, as well as to those serving as moderators and panelists at this conference. I wish that we soon become completely free from COVID-19, and so we can see each other and exchange our greetings in person at the 7th Big Data Conference held in Oman. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Kang, for your opening statement. The second distinguished speaker is Her Excellency Ms. Armida Salcia Alishabana. She's the Executive Secretary of the United Nations Economic and Social Commission for Asia and the Pacific since 2018. In this role, she is the highest-ranking UN official in the Asia and Pacific region. Prior to joining ESCAP, Mrs. Alishabana was Professor of Economics at Universitas Padjadjaran in Bandung, Indonesia. From 2009 to 2019, she was the Minister of National Development Planning and the head of the National Development Planning Agency in Indonesia. From 2009 to 2014, Ms. Ali Shabana was also alternate governor of the World Bank and alternate governor of the Asian Development Bank, representing the government of Indonesia. In 2016, she was a member of the high-level independent team of advisors to support the United Nations ECOSOC dialogue on the longer-term positioning of the United Nations development system in the context of the 2030 Agenda on Sustainable Development. Ms. Ali Shabana earned a master's degree in economics from Northwestern University in the USA and a PhD in economics from the University of Washington in the USA. Your Excellency, the floor is yours.
Excellency, Mr. Kyung Choi, Minister of Science and ICT, Republic of Korea, Mr. Shin Wook-kang, Commissioner, Korean Statistics, Mr. Risenga Maluleke, Co-Chair of the UN Global Working Group on Big Data, my colleague Stefan Schweinfest from the UN Stats Division, colleagues, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning, afternoon, or evening to all of you. It is my pleasure to have the opportunity to address the 6th International Conference on Big Data for Official Statistics and for ESCAP to co-host this very important event. We are having this conference in the midst of COVID-19 pandemic. Governments are facing the severe challenges to overcome health and socio-economic crisis caused by the pandemic. The ensuing economic hardship could push millions of people back into extreme poverty and unemployment. Even youth is now facing a lot of uncertainty about the future of work, their job prospects during this pandemic. In view of this, let me share 2 discussion points for your consideration. First, I would like to share highlights of key policy recommendations from the recently launched UN Secretary General's policy brief on impact of COVID-19 on Southeast Asia. Second, I would like also to link policy recommendations of SG's policy brief to big data for official statistics in relation to post-COVID-19 recovery plans and SDGs implementation, especially in our region, Asia Pacific. Dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, recommendations from SG policy brief for Southeast Asia socio-economic recovery focuses on 4 thematic areas, namely tackling inequality, bridging digital divide, ensuring green recovery, and upholding human rights and good governance practices. Let me explain further the above 4 recommendations. On tackling inequality, achieving a successful recovery from COVID-19 must address systemic issues, including extreme poverty, socio-economic inequalities and gaps in social protection, health coverage, and health system. Due attention must be given to the vulnerable segment of the population, including women and children from poor and marginal households. On bridging the digital divide, COVID-19 has highlighted both the role of digital technologies in pandemic response and the vulnerabilities posed by lack of digital access. Therefore, we are advocating for accelerated investments in ICT infrastructure. This is both hard and soft infrastructure, as well as the digital economy. On greening the recovery, government policies should be directed to economic sectors, as well as industries that are low carbon, resource efficient, and aligned with environmental and climate objectives, as in the Paris Agreement and 2030 Agenda. It is essential that all steps taken in the recovery must accelerate towards sustainable, resilient, and low-carbon future. And on human rights and good governance, certainly countries can play an important role in upholding human rights, good governance, building strong institutions. In the face of COVID-19 pandemic, there is huge opportunity to leverage community-based organization, promote social inclusion, participation, and unity and speak out against discrimination. So in general, these 4 recommendations, although mentioned to be targeted for Southeast Asian countries, but we think that this is equally relevant and important for all countries, and especially in our region. So colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, recovering better, charting a pathway to a new normal has been outlined in Secretary General's policy brief, is closely linked with the availability of timely and reliable official statistics. Allow me to share 3 focus areas for your further discussions and deliberations. First, using big data in combination with traditional data sets is essential to the analysis of inequalities and vulnerabilities in our societies. Using all data sources with real-time analytics could provide insights into public health situation, agri-food systems landscape, and financial inclusion programs. Second, investing in basic ICT infrastructure and skills, so this is the hard and software, could facilitate the implementation of big data strategies, especially related to data storage capability and computing power, secure cloud infrastructure, and skills to use and integrate data from digitized public services to citizens and businesses. And finally, third, strengthening environmental statistics, environmental accounts, and using geospatial information as a part providing a whole of government statistical service could support the green recovery across economies and societies. I look forward to your views on how governments can use big data for official statistics for the 2030 agenda, as well as for the socio-economic policy responses due to COVID-19 pandemic. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Executive Secretary Mr. Ali Shabana, for these important views. Our next distinguished speaker is His Excellency Minister Ki-Yong Choi. Mr. Ki-Yong Choi was appointed as Minister of Science and ICT by President Moon Jae-in in September 2019. Prior to his appointment, Mr. Ki-Yong Choi was a longtime professor in electrical engineering at the Seoul National University, where he held several positions, including the Director of Neural Processing Research Center and the Director of Embedded Systems Research Center. Mr. Ki-Yong Choi obtained a PhD degree in electrical engineering from Stanford University in the USA. Your Excellency, please, the floor is yours. Please start the video.
Distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, let me begin by congratulating you on the opening of the 6th International Conference on Big Data for Official Statistics. I would like to thank the UN Global Working Group and Statistics Korea officials for their hard work in organizing this meeting, even amid the COVID-19 pandemic. My thanks also go to the heads of statistics offices and experts who will be participating in panel discussions. We are going through a period of great transformation represented by the 4th Industrial Revolution. Digital technologies such as data, artificial intelligence, and 5G are serving as a medium for creating new values, sparking immense change across our economy and society. Data is especially important as it is one of the key assets that will draw innovation-led growth. How much you collect data and how well you use data can decide the national competitiveness. Companies like Apple, Google, and Amazon are leading the global market thanks to the vast amount of data they have accumulated, while major countries have published national data strategies as they race towards data dominance. Korea also declared the transition to data economy. We have improved data-related legislation and established data platforms to collect, open, and use data in diverse sectors. A recent addition to Korea's data initiatives is the Digital New Deal. Investing about $48.5 billion by 2025, it is aimed at improving the ecosystem of data, network, and AI to prepare for the structural change in economy and society and to take a leap forward in the world after COVID-19. In particular, creating a data dam is one of our main objectives. The data dam will bring public and private data together to cloud data centers through high-speed 5G networks. It will also create innovative new services in diverse sectors, such as environment, healthcare, and energy, through data analytics and AI conversions. The importance of data is highlighted in all industries. The statistics community is also discussing big data as a means to identify new economic trends and to respond to changes in digital economy. As the whole world is hit hard by COVID-19, the theme of this conference, which focuses on the importance of data in responding to the pandemic, seems very timely. The crisis induced by COVID-19 cannot be overcome by one country. International cooperation is most needed in a time like this. I hope this conference helps not only the statistics community, but also the international community take a meaningful first step towards a data-driven response to pandemics. Once again, congratulations on the opening of the conference. I wish you a successful event and productive outcomes. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister Ki Jong Chao, for addressing our community. Our next distinguished speaker is Mr. Rizenga Maluleke. Mr. Maluleke is Statistician General of South Africa and is also the current co-chair of the United Nations Global Working Group on Big Data for Official Statistics. He was appointed South Africa's second Statistician General in November 2017. Prior to that, Mr. Maluleke was the Deputy Director General for Statistical Collections and Outreach. He has been with Statistics South Africa for the past 20 years. He was responsible for the data collection of provincial offices, especially for censuses and sample surveys. He was also responsible for international statistical development and communications. Mr. Maluleke holds a bachelor degree in mathematical statistics from the University of Limpopo and a master's degree in urban and regional science from the University of Stellenbosch. Mr. Maluleke, please go ahead. Please start the video.
Greetings, members of the international community. Let me salute you from all the corners of the world as we remotely gather here in Seoul for the 6th United Nations Conference on Big Data. The United Nations Global Working Group on Big Data for Official Statistics has been active since 2014. To this day, it has produced handbooks as well as training materials which provide guidance on the use of big data, satellite data, mobile phone data, as well as scanner data. These guidelines also provide for new methods as well as the use of advanced technology. Since 2018, the Global Working Group has also maintained a cloud-based environment for data collaboration. That is the United Nations Global Platform. It is an infrastructure with data, methods, and tools which is meant for the statistical community. And of course, it is supported by the statistical community. Training in the use of big data, as well as in data sciences, is needed for all statistical institutes. The Global Working Group is in the process of developing a global training program. This program will provide for facets which will help develop skills which make it possible for staff of statistical institutes to be actively involved in projects of the United Nations Global Platform. We have also set up task teams which are unpacking issues of data in the area of satellite, mobile phones, as well as scanner data. The Global Working Group has set up regional hubs for global platform in the following cities. In Hangzhou, in China, we are working with the National Bureau of Statistics for China. In Dubai, in the United Arab Emirates, working together with the Federal Competitiveness and Statistics Authority of the UAE. And of course, in Kigali, in Rwanda, working with the National Institute for Statistics of Rwanda, as well as the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa. These regional hubs will be available for training and project activities at regional level. This conference is organized against the background of COVID-19 pandemic, a pandemic that has affected all facets of life and indeed all aspects of life. The way of working of statistical institutes has had to be adjusted rapidly. Governments and society are looking at statistical institutes for delivery of relevant data to understand the extent of the pandemic and of course to understand the impact it may have on the economy and life in general. Of course, this will take time to unpack and understand into the future. Global data sources, new methods, and of course advanced technologies may be needed now and more than ever to help deliver on the services of statistical institutes. The United Nations Global Platform is a resource which is available at this moment for each of the statistical institutes to use. And of course, they can deploy so as they wish. We have drafted the Seoul Declaration, in which many issues as well as perspectives are included. The United Nations Global Platform can be a valuable asset for the statistical community. But that is only if it is sustainable. And if we can't sustain it, it will provide challenges. Our community will help make efforts to generate support which guarantee the longer-term sustainability of the platform so that it can serve the community of statisticians and beyond in different ways. In conclusion, let me extend our appreciation to the government of the Republic of Korea. We would have loved to be there in person, having arrived in our numbers to flood the city of Seoul. When time permits in the future, we will be back, and indeed there are so many activities of the United Nations that will allow us to be back to Seoul. As we connect remotely, let me wish us all well across the world as we are glued to our screens in our respective cities. Let me wish us to have fruitful discussions over the next few days. And indeed, I thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Maluleke, for this presentation, for this statement. Our final distinguished speaker is Mr. Stefan Schweinfest, Director of the Statistics Division of the United Nations Department of Economic and Social Affairs. Mr. Schweinfest was appointed Director of the Statistics Division in July 2014. Under his leadership, the division compiles and disseminates global statistical information, develops standards and norms for statistical activities, including the integration of geospatial, statistical, and other information, and supports countries' efforts to strengthen their national statistical and geospatial systems. Mr. Schweinfest started his career with the United Nations Statistics Division in 1989. in the area of national accounting. He subsequently worked in various other areas, such as statistical capacity building programs and indicator frameworks. For many years, he was also responsible for external relationships of the division, both with member countries as well as with international partner organizations. He has been the substantive secretary of two intergovernmental bodies, namely the United Nations Statistical Commission since 2002 and the United Nations Committee of Experts on Global Geospatial Information Management since 2011. Mr. Schweinfest, Stefan, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency Minister Ki-Young Choi, Your Excellency Executive Secretary Armida Ali Shabana, dear Commissioner Shin Wok Kan, dear Statisticians General of South Africa, my dear friend Rizenga, dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, good evening from New York. It is late Sunday in New York, but I wouldn't want to miss it. Today is actually my 31st anniversary with the United Nations, and what better way than to welcome you to the 6th International Conference on Big Data for Official Statistics. My office, the United Nations Statistics Division, is very pleased to join hands with Statistics Korea, the UN Economic and Social Commission for Asia and the Pacific, and the United Nations Global Working Group on Big Data for Official Statistics in the organization of this event, and to be at the forefront of recognizing the potential of big data. While the COVID-19 crisis has unfortunately prevented us from being physically together in the beautiful city of Seoul, our colleagues from Statistics Korea have shown to be excellent hosts, even in this new world of virtual communication, by actively helping in the development of the conference program and by providing the technical solutions. I would really like to thank our dear friends in Statistics Korea for all of their support to make this conference possible today. Let's talk about the COVID-19 pandemic. It is unfortunately not only keeping us physically apart, it also requires statistical institutes to find new ways of operating. Many of us are working from home instead from an office. Data collection operations such as household surveys, price surveys, or population and housing censuses had to be adjusted. And we had to find new ways of safely accessing our data processing operations from our computers or our laptops at home. While the working conditions have become more difficult, the demand on the other side for data has not decreased. On the contrary, governments and societies are even more urgently asking us, the statistical community, to deliver relevant, timely, frequent, high quality and detailed data to better understand the impact of COVID-19. Governments need data for putting in place adequate interventions to stop the spread of the virus. And they need data for the assessment of the policy response to recover economically and socially. Especially under the current circumstances, the use of big data, the use of new methods and advanced technologies seems more necessary than ever before. Given the pervasiveness of the use of electronic devices in our societies, data are now generated in enormous quantities at any moment in time. When we talk about these big data, we talk about the promise and the expectation that we as statisticians will be able to produce, with the help of these big data, relevant statistics and indicators that become available very quickly, that will be produced frequently, and that will show us a lot of geospatial detail and additional breakdowns into many socio-demographic groups. Dear colleagues, let's look back a little. In October 2014, I was pleased to make an opening statement at the very first global conference on big data for official statistics, which took also place in Asia and the Pacific, namely in Beijing. That was the start of a journey which demonstrated the possibilities of big data. Over the years, the conferences gradually moved from showing big data pilot projects to showing production-ready big data applications, such as the use of satellite data for estimating crop statistics, or the use of retail scanners for calculating consumer price indices. In 2014, in the same year we started the big data conferences, my office also supported the preparation of the United Nations Data Revolution Report, which was commissioned by the then Secretary General Ban Ki-moon. This report made a number of recommendations to share technology and innovations for the common good, to establish a global data hub, and to organize a World Data Forum. Now let's look 6 years later at some of these recommendations. We already will organize the third World Data Forum, and it will take place virtually now in October, but it will be followed by a physical meeting in 1 year in October in 21 in Bern, Switzerland. With regard to the Global Data Hub, we also mentioned already that we have the UN Global Platform, which shares technology and innovations for the common good, just as requested by the Data Revolution report. The UN Global Platform was created by the United Kingdom Office for National Statistics and has been officially handed over to the United Nations community in June this year. This platform is a cloud-based data collaboration environment, which contains global data sets, new methods, and advanced technology tools for the common good. And it is available to all institutes of the statistical community and their partners around the world. Dear colleagues, the basic premise of the United Nations is to bring countries together and to find solutions on common matters. The United Nations Statistical Commission brings together every year the chief statisticians of all member states around the world. Many of you are connected today. For official statistics, we agree on global standards and recommended methods and on best practices. Within this context of the intergovernmental processes of the Statistical Commission, I would like to emphasize the importance of global collaboration in the area of data innovation. To fully exploit and benefit from the possibilities of big data, we rely on active collaboration of statisticians, data scientists, data engineers from the statistical community and from academia, private sector, and non-governmental institutions. Let me mention here one particular group, namely the experts on geospatial data. My office, as you heard, is also responsible for servicing the United Nations Committee on Global Geospatial Information Management. In fact, we had our meeting just this week. It brought together the geospatial leaders of each country. And I can tell you, I can assure you that these geospatial chiefs of the countries are very willing to engage with us and to work closely with us. So, to better cooperate internationally and among professional communities, we will need better modes of collaboration and better partnerships. In this regard, the role of data stewardship of national statistical offices will be even more critical, and we will discuss this important topic at the forthcoming Statistical Commission in March 2021. Let me talk a bit about the United Nations Global Working Group on Big Data. Under the umbrella of this working group, many experts from all stakeholder communities are already working together. Several collaborative data projects are currently being executed on the United Nations Global Platform, and we are inviting you to join this work. We need in-kind contributions of experts in statistics, computer science, machine learning, and data engineering. We also need support from the donor community, so we will be able to undertake more projects, especially for the benefit of statistical institutes from developing countries. And this brings me to an important point. Last but not least, training in the use of big data and underlying technologies is really essential. We have embarked on a global training program to improve the skills of staff in statistical offices so that each office can participate in big data projects. The recently created regional hubs of the United Nations Global Platform in China, Rwanda, and the United Arab Emirates will help in the delivery of these critically important training activities. Dear colleagues, in closing, let me emphasize the following. Society is now more than ever looking for trusted and reliable data which provide relevant answers to urgent questions. In fact, connecting the world with data we can trust is the central theme of our World Statistics Day that we will all celebrate together this 20th of October 2020. We, the statistical professional community, have been given the responsibility to deliver the trusted and reliable data. Big data and advanced technology can and will have to complement the more traditional data collection of national statistical systems. This will require new methods and new standards, as well as better institutional collaboration and better partnerships with the private sector. Over the next 3 days, you will see many examples of such collaboration and partnerships. Those examples are truly encouraging. They show common purpose by many different actors in our society. We at the United Nations, like everybody else, want to overcome the negative effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. And we also need and want to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals 2030. Collectively, we can make sure that we will deliver the necessary data to guide those efforts. Let me say at the end that I'm very, very proud of our global statistical community because we have been standing together over the last months in solidarity to find practical solutions to the problems we are all facing. I wish you all a very enjoyable and fruitful discussion during the 6th International Conference on Big Data for Official Statistics. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Stefan. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes the opening segment of the 6th International Conference on Big Data for Official Statistics. I would like to thank once again our distinguished speakers for their excellent opening statements. Thank you, Commissioner Kang, Your Excellency, Ms. Alicia Shabana, Your Excellency, Minister Ki-jong Choi, Mr. Maluleke, and Mr. Schweinfest. Your contributions have set the stage and described the context very well in which this conference is taking place. In a few moments, we will start with the first session of the conference on the role of the statistical community in the COVID-19 response and implications for SDG monitoring. This session will be led by my colleague, Ms. Gemma van Helderen, Director of the Statistics Division of UNESCAP. Thank you all for joining in the opening, and I hope that you will actively participate in the upcoming sessions of this conference. Thank you.